Day 3, baby. Yeah. Let's get started. So I found out that I'm an idiot. In yesterday's video, I was having this issue because I was trying to use Git inside of the terminal, and it said I needed to download the developer tools. And anytime I did this, a little window would pop up, and I'd be like, "Do you want to install?" And I'd say, "Yeah," and it would just not do anything. It would just freeze. But all I really had to do was scroll over like one window because the end user license agreement popped up there, and I just had to click accept. So my bad. But just to show you guys what'll happen when you do that, you'll get something like this with the command line tools license agreement. So now when I say git, I get a bunch of junk pop up, which means it's working. Yeah. All right. So if you want to get to this part, if you're just jumping in, type in git, and if you get some kind of error like this and nothing happens, then type in this. I forgot to put my microphone on. When you type that in, you'll get a request seeing if you want to install the developer tools. Yesterday, I was trying to install all of Xcode, which I don't even think you have to do that. It took like a minute. It was really quick. And then you can say git, which we're going to use for our source control. All right, so what now? Well, what we're gonna do is we are going to go to our directory for our Java project. So we're gonna open up Eclipse, and I have it open from a previous episode. And don't worry too much if you have exactly what I have. Don't worry about that because we're probably going to start a little bit fresh. But this is what I got. And what I want to do is I want to go into preferences because I actually want to change a little bit on the theme. So under appearance theme, we're going to go with dark. Oh, we even got some, yeah, we'll just keep that the same. And I wonder if there's any way we can like make things bigger because it's so teensy. I don't see nothing. Yeah, I don't see anything. So we'll just apply and close, and I'll see if I can. Ooh, it's so pretty. All right, so I know how to make the font size bigger. You just hold command and plus and minus. I was kind of like hoping to make all the rest of the stuff bigger without having to change my computer's resolution. Yeah, I have no idea. I guess it doesn't really matter. So we're in our project, and you can just right click your little project, the little teensy little icon down there, and show in System Explorer. And it didn't pop up on this screen because I'm in like the full screen mode. So it actually popped up over here. And this is the path to our project. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to copy this path into the terminal. So let me get the terminal here and just minimize it. So the easiest way to do this is say, make this a little bigger. We'll clear the screen, and we're going to say cd for change directory, and we're going to take my sweet program and paste it here. So now when we say pwd, we get that path. So we're in Eclipse Workspace, my sweet program, and that's where we are, almost as if we navigated the folder structure, but instead of in the folders, we're in the terminal. It's just a different way to navigate. So I'm actually going to go up one directory. So to do that, you say cd ... All right, and then I'm going to clear the screen and say pwd, and you can see we're in users, Caleb Curry, Eclipse Workspace. Now your name is probably going to be a little bit different, but that's okay. And from here, I'm going to say git init, and it says initialized empty git repository in this folder. So right here in our folder structure, there is now some hidden Git files. So you can see those by saying ls-a for all. Press enter. You can see we have this .git. And here's another .ds_store. That's a hidden thing that Apple does. So that's what that is. The dot refers to the current directory, and then the double dot refers to the parent directory. So yeah. Okay, so we initialized a Git repository in this folder, and the reason I did it in this folder is because we can have multiple projects in this folder. So rather than doing it in the My Suite program, I want to be able to store this, in this case, testing, as well as any other projects we start in this Eclipse workspace. So to see this, we're actually gonna go in full screen because we don't need to see the other stuff. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit and clear the screen and just say git status. And you can see there's untracked files, and one of them is this My Suite program folder and this testing folder. And then we have that hidden stuff. Yeah, we'll just have to ignore those for right now. And we could even ignore that folder since we're just working with this one right now. But what we could use is something called a git ignore, which is basically something that's going to automatically ignore those files so we don't have to see them. It's almost as if they don't even exist. So we're going to get one of those, and to do that, we're going to go into Chrome and just say Java git ignore. Cat, go away. We will just go in this first one, git ignore / Java git ignore at master. And this is what a git ignore file looks like. That one actually doesn't look. Let me look at this other one here. This one looks like it might be more complete. Yeah. So we're going to go into the second one, a complete git ignore file for Java. And basically any of these file types, they're going to be ignored. And you can even see this .dsstore file, that's going to be ignored as well. So this is what we want. So here's what you can do. You can just take this, copy it, just like that. And we're going to create a new .ignore file in our repository. So I'm going to try this, probably going to mess something up. I'm going to say echo, double quote, paste all that, end double quote, and I'm going to direct that into a .gitignore. All right, let's see if this worked. ls. Oh yeah, I forgot ls. No, yeah. The dot means like hidden, so you have to do -a. And we do have a .gitignore, so we can say less.gitignore to see some of the file contents here, and it looks like it worked. You can scroll through this and see that this is now our gitignore file. Now you could just as well open a text editor, paste that in there, and save it to that folder, but this was much cooler, and if you do that in front of your friends, they're gonna be much more impressed. So you gotta always use the terminal whenever you can. All right, so to get out of this, press Q, and now clear the screen and say git status. You can see we have the My Suite program, and we have this testing folder, and we have the git ignore. We don't see the dsstore thing, and we don't see the whatever else there was in there. So now it's much cleaner, and when we make that commit, we're not putting in a bunch of stuff we don't want. All right, I just cleared the screen, so we got everything fresh, and now we need to make a commit. So what we're gonna do is I'm actually going to remove one of the files. I'm gonna get rid of this testing folder because that's not something you guys had. So I just wanna be on the same page with you guys. So I'm just gonna say rm testing like so. And when it's a directory, I think you have to do -r to remove it. You could also just go delete the folder. Oh yeah, liquid energy. Now, when we say git status, we only have that My Suite program and the git ignore file, which is exactly what we want. Git add and a dot, which means everything, current directory, enter, and git status. Now everything's green and pretty. So what we need to do now is, so this is the stuff that's going to be checked in. We have the Java program that we wrote. So looking at Eclipse, that's what we're looking at right here, mysuiteprogram.java. But in here, it looks like there's also a test file, which I don't know if we put that together ourselves or if I was just dorking around, but I don't think that's what we want because we already have a main class in here, and you can only have one main class, basically saying where the program starts. I mean, obviously you can have two, but the program can only start in one main class. So we're going to get rid of test.java. So you can just right click, you can delete it from here, you can delete it from the terminal. So I'm going to delete that. So now all we have is my sweet program.java. And we're going to say get status just to confirm. So that's removed. So we'll say git add dot. So if you haven't used Git, let me just give you a 20-second crash course. If you know Git, then just ignore me for just a minute. But basically we have all of our local files, and then we say git add, and we put them in what's known as a staging area. So these are the files we're intending on putting into the repository, but we haven't committed to them. We're thinking about it. So we just kind of set them aside and say, hey, we might put these in the repository. So we can still change things in the meantime. So before we make that final commit, we can change things. So now I'm ready to commit. All I gotta do is say git commit -m for message, double quotes, and then you can use your little arrow keys to go in between them and say initial commit. Okay, so then it just says your email and email address were configured automatically based on your username and host name. If you want to set your email and your name, then you can use these commands. So right here, this is putting my email as so. It's not as pretty as my actual email, but it doesn't really matter. I think if you're on Windows, it might be a little bit more picky and make you do that ahead of time. Not entirely sure. So if you need to set your email or your name, you can go look into the configuration file. So now what we do is we say git status. Here, let's clear. And now we're going to say git status. And you can see it says on branch master, nothing to commit. Working tree clean. So all of the files, all the changes are in the repository, which is just a structure on our computer. And we can see those commits by saying git log. And this is the one we just made from author Caleb Curry with this email address. Remember, you can change it, what we just showed a second ago. And this initial commit is what's going to go up in GitHub. So now let's open GitHub and figure out how to do that. So go to Chrome and we'll just go to our repositories. Repositories, 30 Days of Java. And here are the steps we're going to follow, these two right here, because we have an existing repository and we want to push it up from the command line. So the first one, we'll copy this, and all this does is add a remote destination of this web address, and we call it origin. So it's kind of like a nickname for this destination, if that makes any sense. So we'll clear this out and we will paste that. So we are creating a remote by saying remote add. A remote is just a destination for our files, and we're giving it a nickname origin and the web address of where the files are going to go. We press enter. And now we do the second command here. We just push everything to origin, and then we have this keyword master, which deals with branching. By default, we're on the master branch, so we don't really have to worry about that for now. Press enter, get a bunch of stuff here, and check it out. It says branch master set up to track remote branch master. So basically we synchronize between our local computer and GitHub, and now we can just push changes up there. We don't have to add the remote each time. All we have to do is say git push origin master whenever we want to take our local commits and push them up to GitHub. And we will see that in this 30 Days of Java, I'm sure. So let's take a look at GitHub and check this out. This is the satisfying part. Do a refresh. Boom, yeah, our files are up there. We did it. So now If you're like me, I'm a terrible person when it comes to file organization and everything. Now you have a super organized place to store your code. You can always reference it, and you can use it instead of a resume. You just give them your GitHub URL and show them that you're super active. If you go to your profile, actually, you'll see this cool contributions, which you can see I'm super active on GitHub. Each one of these green squares, it'll show how many times you've contributed. And the more you use GitHub, the more colorful this will become. So obviously I need to work on that. So that's what I'm gonna be trying to do this year. Maybe my previous years were better. Oh, that's a little better. 2017, oh, there's one. 2015, wow, I'm just terrible. I am terrible. I need to step up my game. So we got our project up here, and you guys can go find this, see this code, and go into 30 Days of Java and follow along by opening a particular folder, such as My Sweet Program, and you can see it right there. So what we're gonna do, just as a test, we're gonna create a new project. So what we'll do is we'll say File, New Java Project, and we'll just call this Test, and we'll say Finish. So we got this test folder. We're not creating a module. We're gonna expand this little teensy icon, right click source, and say New Class. And we'll just call it Test. I'm not really too worried about what the name. And we'll say public static void main, Finish. So we just made the basic project. We could easily do a hello world in here, but this is good for now. Now, when we go over to the terminal, we can say git status, and you can see it noticed we added this folder. So we can add that. We can say git add dot, or you could say git add test / The dot is just going to grab everything. In this situation, it's going to do the same thing because everything is just this folder. So git status, you can see we added that new file, which is in the source folder, in the test folder, and I apparently named it wrong. I called it tet.java. But that's fine. We're just trying to see that these show up in GitHub. So git commit, -m, then the parentheses, just test for GitHub. All right, it's committed. So now we can say git log. We can see that on here. And we can push that by saying git push origin master. So everything on the master branch, whoops, don't want to do that. Everything on the master branch, we can just push up to GitHub. I messed my screen up. All right, let's check GitHub. Go back to GitHub, do a refresh. And we'll go back up to the main folder, 30 Days of Java. And now you can see this other source folder, this other folder right here, which has our tet.java in it. So it might be best practice to have one project per Git repository. I'm not entirely sure, but I could see how it could become cluttered if you put everything in one. But for my own sanity, I don't want to pollute my main GitHub page with a bunch of stuff for this one series. So I decided to put them all inside of one. What you do is up to you. But if you want to do it in a separate repository, the only thing you gotta do is, instead of making the repository on this path here, where we're in this Eclipse workspace, all you would have to do is change your directory to whatever project you wanted, My Sweet Program, and that is where you would make your Git repository, and you would push that to a particular URL on GitHub. So you just have to back up on this video and follow along, but instead of in this folder, you would go in another folder. So now the question is, if you're following along and you want to see a particular thing, maybe from a particular video in this series, how do you find that? Well, first, let's go over to our repository, and you can go into any file and look at it. And there is going to be a commit attached with whatever file you're looking at. So you can see there's this code here. you can see all of the changes for that commit by clicking that there, and you can see what I added to this project. So when there's more commits, you can look at the history of the repository. So let's just kind of look around. Let's go to Browse Files. Yeah, you can also see this one commit here. You can click that if you want to see it by commit. So let's do that from the main directory here. We can go to 2 commits, and you can see each commit and what files were added or changed. So you can do it from a particular file, or you can go from here, find the commit, and you'll see all of the files. So initial commit, click that, and you can see it here. That's going to show you everything for that commit. Or you can go to a particular file you're interested in. So we'll go to this one here, source, and go into this mysweetprogram.java. You can also do it here, viewing what commit we're looking at on this file by clicking the little numbers up there. So that's 2 ways you can find your commits and what changes were made. So when you're watching these videos or other videos on YouTube and you want to find a particular point in time, you just have to go to that particular commit the person's talking about in the video, and you can view the code there. Alternatively, you can clone the repository. So if you go to the main thing here, you can see this clone or download, and it'll tell you the Git URL. You can take that and you can clone that locally. If you want to know how to do that, I have a video on GitHub. You can search on my channel, or you can find videos on the internet. But I'm not going to worry about that right now, because if you're following along, you should be creating your own Git repository and following along that way, not just taking my Git repository and working from there. But whatever you do, that's up to you. But if you do pull it locally, you should be able to kind of go through time, making a commit the one you're looking at and see all the files and so forth. So that was your introduction to GitHub for Java. Now, I know we didn't do any coding inside of Java today, but personally, I think that's fine. I think this will allow us to be more project-oriented, learning real-world development, because honestly, understanding Git and GitHub might even be a higher precedence than understanding some of the Java fundamentals when it comes to surviving at a job, because the very first thing you're going to do at a job is start working with source code in a team environment. So make sure you guys understand this stuff. Git can be confusing if you're new to it. Like literally when I started, I was like, what is going on? And I'm still like that half the time, especially when you get into branching and the more advanced stuff. I don't know nothing. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend to know it, because it gets really confusing. So just study hard on that. Make sure you at least understand the basics working with your own repository, and maybe later on we'll get into branching for features and so forth. A common thing is you'll have the master branch, which is kind of like the official software, and then you have feature branches as you're working on new stuff, make sure it works. Then you like merge that into the master branch, and then that becomes the official release. So thank you guys for watching, and my homework for you guys today is to learn a little bit more about Git, GitHub, and the best practices with it. So go do some extra research, maybe try to make a couple of commits, go find my repository on GitHub, make sure you can navigate it so you can follow along. If there's any kind of coding errors you're having in this series, you can go copy that particular section of source code, paste that into your project, and hopefully that'll help you bypass any errors. But you definitely want to try to follow along, typing out as much as you can. So don't just go copy and paste everything I'm doing, because you're not going to learn anything. So thank you guys. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Don't quit. Don't do it.